Ukraine is in a state of disarray, and its president, Volodymyr Zelensky, has just weathered perhaps the toughest week of his tenure. Why, you ask? Well, in a nutshell, Zelensky is fighting an uphill battle, a battle to keep the West's support for the war-ravaged Ukraine. And what's causing this? Well, it's a complex mix of factors at play. From his top general conceding a war stalemate to Gaza war keeping Ukraine's closest allies preoccupied, and add to that Western media reports quoting close aides describing Zelensky as delusional. The Ukrainian president's headaches are multiplying, and Ukraine's war goals are beginning to seem increasingly out of reach. Let's delve into why. Last week, we told you that the situation on the ground in Ukraine has taken a grim turn. Its eastern front lines are ablaze with fierce battles as Russian forces continue their advances. And after that, Ukraine's top commander, General Zelensky, openly admitted that the war has hit a stalemate. And this was a significant statement, of course, given his authority. Even worse for Zelensky, these words are eroding Ukraine's wartime morale. Remember, Ukraine's much-anticipated counteroffensive fell short of the expectations. Their original goal was to reclaim Crimea, which was annexed by Russia in 2014. Yet, 4 months after launching that highly publicized campaign and armed with state-of-the-art Western military equipment, that goal remains unattained. And instead, Ukraine finds itself still asking for more weapons, more aid, more international attention, even while its men and women continue to bear the brunt of the Russian onslaught. And as the clock ticks, Ukraine is supposed to hold its presidential elections next year. According to Ukraine's constitution, by the way, the next presidential polls are scheduled for 2024. However, the current president, Zelensky, deems discussions about the elections while the country is fighting Russia as irresponsible. That's right. In a video address on Monday, Zelensky emphasized that Ukraine must maintain its concentration on the pressing military challenges and prioritize unity over political wrangling. Listen in.
We must decide that now is the time of defense, the time of battle, on which the fate of the state and people depends, and not the farce that only Russia expects from Ukraine. I believe that now is not the right time for elections.
Now remember, Ukraine is currently under martial law as it battles to expel Russian forces from its territory. But as the war drags on, Zelensky has been contemplating whether to invoke a special provision to hold elections. According to the Ukrainian Foreign Minister, Dmytro Kuleba, Zelensky has been weighing the pros and the cons of holding elections, while large parts of his country are still affected by the ongoing warfare, and while Ukraine strives to maintain the support of its allies. Some U.S. Republican senators argue that the Ukraine elections should proceed as planned to demonstrate commitment to democracy. But let's just turn our focus back to the war stalemate. Even though Zelensky attempts to downplay the reality on the battleground, reports saying that the US and European officials have quietly started pushing Zelensky towards peace negotiations amid the two ongoing global conflicts. Israel versus Hamas, Russia versus Ukraine. The West has initiated secret talks with the Ukrainian government about what potential peace negotiations with Russia might entail. And this begs the big question: what would these peace negotiations actually look like? That is indeed a good question, because after nearly 2 years of the war and with Russia holding control over substantial portions of the Ukrainian territory, the Western perspective of what Ukraine should do to achieve this begs scrutiny. And reports saying that discussions are touching upon a wide array of issues, indicating that Ukraine may need to make some compromises in order to secure a deal. And ironically, the burden appears to have inadvertently shifted onto the shoulders of the nation that is fighting to defend its land. And reports indicating that sensitive topics were broached last month when representatives from over 50 nations, all supporting Ukraine and including NATO members, formed the Ukraine Defense Contact Group. They, by the way, share similar concerns. Number one, the war has hit a stalemate. Number two, Ukraine is running out of forces. Number three, Russia seemingly possesses an endless supply of forces and weaponry. Now, as mentioned earlier, Zelensky refused to admit the stalemate on the battlefield. And not just that, he also denies claims that Western allies are pressurizing Kiev to negotiate. However, with the war now entering its 20th month, the sense of war fatigue and weariness is palpable. Ukraine's poor performance in the counteroffensive has pushed Zelensky to engage with Western leaders in an effort to combat this fatigue. He knows and he has said that the Israel-Hamas conflict has diverted the global attention away from Ukraine. And this, he says, may align with Russia's ultimate war goals. The scary truth is, he may not be wrong. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.